Near the end of World War II, one of the first concentration camps was found near the town of Ohrdruf. A young man, Private Don Timmer, actually ended up documenting what happened when they found this camp. And General Patton was there, and Patton brought the mayor of Ohrdruf and his wife to the camp to see for themselves what they undoubtedly already knew. When they were off duty, the guards would come into the town to brag, womanize, and drink, notes Timmer. So how couldn't townspeople know? Then Patton ordered the mayor, his wife, and all of the other able-bodied townsfolk to come back the next day and dig individual graves for the dead prisoners. The citizens did as they were told, completing 80% of the burials and promising to come back the following day to finish the job. But that night, the mayor and his wife hanged themselves. And they left a note, and Private Timmer was brought in to read the suicide note. And it said, "We didn't know, but we knew." My fear is that many of us will say in the end, "I didn't know, but I knew." There wasn't enough evidence to believe in Jesus. Or, yeah, I didn't really get it. Or you'd say, "But I really did." Our problem's not evidence. Our problem is the fact that we don't want to fully entrust ourselves to Jesus. Watch out. Beware. Do you not understand? Do you have eyes that see Jesus, but you don't really see? Do you have ears that are hearing the truth, but don't really hear? Are your hearts hardened? Jesus' question at the end of this is leading us to say, I want to. I don't want to have a hard heart. I don't want to have the leaven of Herod and the Pharisees. I don't want that. Friends, don't be content with knowing about Jesus. Don't be content with knowing about the gospel. Only be content with knowing Jesus himself. Experientially come to him. Entrust yourself to him. Turn from your sin. Turn from laboring for the food that perishes and labor for the food that endures to eternal life. It's him. And the only way you're truly going to do that is if you look at his compassion for you. If you notice at the very beginning of this whole passage, Jesus looks at this great crowd and says, I have compassion on the people. That word is a really long word in the Greek, and it's an interesting one, only used a few times in the Bible, and it means to be moved in your intestines. Or literally, it could mean to be moved in your bowels. What does that mean? It's a way to say that I am so distraught, I feel something so strongly that it's tearing me apart. Jesus looks at us starving. If he sends us away, we faint on the way. He says, I'm being ripped apart because I want to help these people. And until you see that ultimately his compassion didn't just lead him to feed us physical bread, but his compassion led him to the cross, where he would be broken for you. You would see that on the cross, Jesus was sent away with nothing and fainted on the way so that you could be filled, you could have life. Until you see that, until you see his compassion on the cross, you're never really going to want to come to him and cling to him as the bread come down from heaven. You've got to look to the cross. In the cross, you will find God's justice and God's grace colliding and it working out that God can forgive you of your sin and still be righteous. He can bring you to himself because Jesus paid for it. Until you see he's the bread that had to be broken so you could be fed, you're never going to come to him. But if you see that, if you see what that compassion, him being ripped apart, until you see that he was ultimately ripped apart on the cross, you're never going to come to him. You're going to keep chasing after things that don't satisfy, but know that Jesus does. Come to him. Trust him. And tell others about him.